I'm Lucy Beadnell with the ARC of Northern Virginia, and in this 3-minute webinar, we'll give you some tips on what it's like to move from Virginia's CCC Plus waiver that serves folks with a range of disabilities to one of our DD waivers for people with developmental disabilities. Let's go ahead and take a look at what that's like. In comparing the waivers, we'll see that our DD waivers are available to people only with developmental disabilities, and they've got a really big menu of services for living at home, nursing, work and employment, and residential supports. It can offer up to 24/7 paid staff if that's what someone needs. There's a case manager to help you navigate support services, but there's a long waiting list. So for that reason, you may have been eligible for, apply for, and received the CCC Plus waiver. It requires a diagnosis of some kind of a disability and a medical need. It's got a much shorter menu of services, though, than the DD waiver with no employment and residential services. There's a cap on the amount of care hours you can get each week, and there's no case manager, but there is no waiting list. If there comes a point at which you've been on the CCC Plus waiver for some time and you're offered a slot on the DD waiver, let's talk about what that change could look like. First, new services are available. There won't be a cap on weekly hours. The service hours you get will be based upon what you need. You'll be able to access a range of residential and employment services. Over time, as you age and either have more needs related to aging or your disability, or fewer needs as you gain independence, your actual waiver services inside the DD waiver can change and flex with you. Your services at any point in time should be based upon the needs you have. So make sure you're always staying up to date with your team if you need to change them. As you get a DD waiver, there will also be new helpers on board. You'll get a new support coordinator, a case manager through your local community services board, whose job it is to help you navigate waiver services. The CSB can also contract this position out to local organizations like the ARC of Northern Virginia. If you use consumer-directed services, meaning you choose and hire your own staff, you may get a new fiscal agent and have to fill out new employee paperwork. If you use an agency to provide your caregivers, in many cases, that agency can stay the same. Just double check and make sure they work with both waivers. And since the DD waiver offers new kinds of services for employment, residential, and beyond, you'll have a new array of service providers. Your support coordinator can help you find them, interview with them, tour, meet, and select them. As you meet, expect to have a lot of conversations about the services that you're going to need now and in the future. Your support coordinator's job is to document that in a plan and submit it to the state for approval and funding. You'll work with your Medicaid eligibility worker at the county to make sure they know what waiver you're on and the rules related to that waiver. And like we mentioned, you may have to write some new employee paperwork and submit it if you use consumer-directed services. Plan for a couple of months of transition time, but that doesn't mean months with no services. In an ideal situation, things should be coordinated so that CCC Plus services are planned to end on a certain date and DD waiver services begin the next day. It's just months of planning to make sure that goes as seamlessly as possible. Learn more at thearcofnova.org. Ask us a question at thearcofnova.org/answers and learn across the lifespan with our Transition Points Guides toolkits. Thanks so much for joining us.